Today I fucked up by not peeing before I went to sleep. Happened on Thursday, still processing. Wednesday evening I was having a really bad bout of insomnia. I just couldn't feel tired. When I was finally starting to slip into the abyss of sleep, I realized I felt the need to pee. Pissed off at the thought of taking another 2 hours to feel tired, I just went to bed and told myself I'd deal with the consequences later. Thursday morning I wake up in a good deal of pain, as I expected. But it isn't relieved when I go to the bathroom, or the 3 other times I do over the course of the day. Around 4 p.m. I notice it hurts to breathe in deeply on my right side, so I have to kind of gasp. I call off going with my GF to the gym and stay home. I constantly looked up my symptoms, but the pain isn't right for appendicitis, so I just figure it's cramps from holding in my pee. BC apparently those cramps can last a few days. Pain only gets worse. I can barely eat anything at 7 p.m. At 8 I decide I want to go upstairs and lay down, maybe turn in early. As soon as I sit down I get incredibly nauseous, break out into a cold sweat. It's then I realize something isn't right here. I weigh my options and decide it's time to go to the ER, even if they turn me away for just having a bad muscle cramp. We get to the ER, they ultrasound my stomach and apparently there's just a bunch of fluid hanging around my gallbladder. CT confirms it. I had an ovarian cyst rupture and they didn't know if it was still bleeding into my abdominal cavity. If I hadn't been convinced it was muscle cramps from needing to pee, I would have been able to tell that it wasn't a pain to shirk off and I could have gone to get treatment hours sooner. Luckily I told my GF to take me in when I did, but it took from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. to transfer from a smaller regional ER to a hospital ER, then up to the OB/GYN ward. I was given the option to either sit in observation to see if I was getting worse or go into surgery. Either I'd stopped bleeding or was still bleeding by that point. Blood counts apparently take a bit of time to catch up, so I elected for surgery. My first surgery ever. Was in op prep by 10 a.m. Woke up at 1:30 p.m. They removed 500 cc of blood from my abdomen, 2/3 of a bottle of wine worth, and a cyst was taken out, but that's a lot of blood. I was up and walking within an hour of being out of surgery, and released by 7 o'clock Friday evening. Resting at home. Pain is okay, but I'm still in shock. The LDR, ignored the need to pee and gave myself a reason to think a burst/bleeding ovarian cyst was a normal/expected pain. Damn, I have PCOS and I've never had a cyst anywhere near that bad. That's scary. I hope you're feeling okay. Funny enough, my PCP told me it's incredibly unlikely of me to have PCOS. I don't have the right markers for it or something, and this still happened. No one with ovaries is safe from them, I guess. Glad you're okay, op. That's terrifying. This is the most elaborate excuse for not going to the gym I've ever heard. And lucky for me it's gonna last up to 4 weeks XD. I've had experiences with rupturing ovarian cysts and that is seriously one of the most painful and terrifying things. So glad you're okay! Exclamation mark. I'm glad you're okay. That must have been scary. I also fucked up by not peeing before going to bed about 2 weeks ago. Ended up running down the stairs in the middle of the night, accidentally skipped a few steps and broke my leg. Lesson learned, lol. Oh man, I dunno which sounds worse. Hoping you have a speedy recovery too. Today I fucked up making a joke at work. This happened a couple days ago. I work at a restaurant/bar, where I was the waiter for the restaurant section for the night. One table came in and it was one of their birthdays, so they had a cake brought in and we kept it in the chiller for them. After their mains, one of them gives me some candles and asks for me to bring it out, so sure enough I grabbed the cake and walked towards the kitchen to put it in the bench to take it out of the box. Now as I'm walking towards the kitchen I thought I'd just turn the corner and see one of the chefs and say happy birthday and hold the cake out, just as a general non-funny joke. So OFC, that's what I do. I turn the corner and the chef is there. I say, hey chef, Happy birthday. This is where I fucked up. He turns around and looks at me and says, "Oh thanks man. I really appreciate it," and tries to take the cake out of my hands. Now it's at this point I remembered being on Facebook in the morning. Remember, it is actually his birthday today. So I'm standing there with a customer's cake, jokingly said happy birthday to my coworker and forgot it actually is his birthday. So he thinks the cake is his and spends 5 to 10 seconds trying to reach for it out of my hands. I look at him and say, "Oh man, bro, I'm so sorry," and go to hug him. I mess up saying it was for a customer and I was joking, but I said I was buying him a cake and that it's on the way. Thankfully he laughed and said that the hug I gave him was more than enough. Did say, "How about a hug and a cake though?" To which he heard, "A hug and a kiss," which we laughed about as I walked off. Too long didn't read, turned a corner and said happy birthday to someone while holding a customer's cake, forgetting it's actually their birthday. Coincidentally it's also your cake day, lol. This is the most wholesome today I fucked up I've ever read. So did you give that kiss later or nah? Good save NGL. Did you get him the cake? At least he was a good sport about it. Today I fucked up by brushing my cat. So I brushed my cat yesterday, but realized my FU this morning. I have 2 cats, one very fluffy one and one typical short hair. The fluffy one loves to be brushed. She runs up to me as soon as I pull out the brush and I try to brush her once a week to avoid hairballs. The short hair one hates it. I can usually get a few brush strokes in before he attacks my hand and or runs away. He sheds quite a bit while being pet, so I've always been frustrated I can't brush him to avoid some of his shedding on things. Well, my short-haired cat is very food motivated. Though about training him to do tricks, but just don't have the time to put in. Yesterday I had the bright idea to offer treats in exchange for brushing. It worked. I had a handful of treats and I was able to successfully brush both cats. There was a giant pile of fur from both of them by the time I was done. QFU realization. This morning, my short hair is snuggled next to me when I wake up. I pet him a bit and notice his back is a bit odd feeling. Wiping the sleep out of my eyes I notice a bald spot. Not completely bald, but noticeably less hair. I feel so bad for him. He's received plenty of loving today, and promises that I won't trade treats for brushing again. Thankfully, he's not acting any different, still yelling about his food and demanding love. But I feel awful. TL, doctor, I bribed my cat to be brushed and gave him a bald spot. Have you tried using the gloves that are also a brush? I believe they were originally intended for dogs, but they work great on my cat that hates to be brushed. I haven't tried those. They're probably more gentle too. I use a Furminator style brush on my fluffy cat. Could be too rough for the other one. Even without reading the comments I can tell you used a Furminator. It's pretty common for this to happen to unsuspecting owners. I highly recommend undercoat/greyhound combs and a slicker brush. I have one short-haired dude that's the same, but after a couple of years of desensitization and bribery he likes a bit of a brush now. I started desensitizing him with a type of human tangle teaser brush because they're so gentle. I use a purple brush thing that has a bunch of silicone cones sticking out of it. All 3 of my cats love it. It gets a decent amount of loose fur off. Abs never had a problem with bald spots even with a lot of brushing. Is the Furminator the wire brush sort? I can see that being too rough for some cats. Zoom groom. Second this, as a pet groomer and cat owner. It doesn't seem likely the bald spot is from you. Hair was probably falling out on its own and you just sped up the process. May wanna see a vet about that. That's not normal. It might be an idea to have that bald spot checked out by the vet. Might be nothing, but just in case. That's not a bad idea. He has a bald belly that I've had the vet look at. She said it was likely stress because we've just moved, and he's had a lot of life changes recently. It's been getting better the last few weeks. This having an obvious source, I wasn't as concerned, but it can't hurt to bring it up to the vet as a new thing.